That down. Let's move on to this one, shall we? You know, as a part of this Stitchin' Impossible weekend, or whatever they're going to call it, the second part of that equation is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. The trailers have been banger. They really have. They've done a great job with the marketing campaign on this. I liked Final Reckoning myself. Not everybody did, and that's fine. I didn't think it was the best Mission Impossible movie, but I was really looking forward to going into this. By the way, I don't believe for a second this is the last Mission Impossible now. After watching this, they were called The Final Reckoning. Trust me one last time. So I go into it and I watch it. Here are my thoughts. This is, and if you saw my out of theater reaction, let me kind of repeat what I said there. This is entertainment. This movie is really all about entertainment and spectacle filmmaking. I will go so far as to say that the airplane sequence that you see bits of in the trailer, I think of all the crazy, all the nutty, all the fantastical stunts and sequences that Tom Cruise and the Mission Impossible franchise has done, I think that airplane sequence might take the whole thing. I think it might be the best they've ever done. My stomach was in my throat the entire sequence because we actually know he's up in the air in that plane. It's ain't CGI. This is him doing it, and that goes a long way. I thought Tom Cruise, as always, is the quintessential movie star. Having Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, you know, all the cast of characters there and everything. It was a fun, exciting, spectacle, summer movie season kind of movie, and I had a blast. That said, I did have some problems with the movie. Number one, and I heard other people say this, and so going into it, this movie is too long for itself. Again, there are some movies that can be 3.5 hours long, and that's the perfect length. But for this Mission Impossible movie, there were a number of parts of the film that I thought were just longer than they needed to be. Some sequences that were even longer than they needed to be. And that kind of held it back a little bit, the film overall, because I think if they had trimmed like 15 minutes out of this movie, oh, the pace this thing would have had. Anyway, so that was one of my criticisms of it. My second criticism is I understand this is a Mission Impossible movie. Fantastical things are going to happen that can't actually be done in the real world. I get that. But there are some logic issues in this movie, man. Like, wait a minute, they just did this. That can't happen. Or, wait, this guy literally just said this. How is this now a thing? Like, and I'm not going to spoil any of the ones that are in there. Or, wait a minute, it took him this long to get here, but to come back without air, it's only going to take him this long. Like, just a number of those things in the movie that would momentarily pull me out of the film. And again, I'm going to be really careful not to get into any spoiler stuff here. But you know what? When you weigh it all out, pacing issues, felt like it was dragging, overlong scenes, some real logic problems with spectacle, cinema, excitement, thrills, tension. I mean, my God, the way they built tension in their action sequences. Let me pull up for an example, like a Transformers movie, right? Lots of pointless action. And there's no tension because there's no dramatic stakes. There's nothing narratively on the line here. It's just, oh, look, giant robot, blah, 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 blah. And don't get me wrong, I love giant robots fighting. But in this, especially, I can think of 3 key action sequences where the tension kept building through the action sequence itself. That literally, this is an overused term, but literally had me on the edge of my seat, like watching it. And so at the end of the day, is Mission Impossible the best of the franchise? No chance in hell. But was this a great time at the movies? It absolutely was. Christopher McQuarrie, Tom Cruise, they put together a true movie-going experience. And I had a really good time. Again, this will probably not end up being in my top 10 films of the year, but I had a blast. I really enjoyed it. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Ridge. Hey guys, listen, I love this thing. This is my Ridge wallet, and honestly, I think it's the last wallet I'll probably ever need. I used to carry around this huge, bulky leather beast stuffed with receipts, old cards, and frankly, way too much junk. It messed up my back when I would sit down on it with my back pocket, and since switching to Ridge, game changer. This thing is sleek, compact, holds up to 12 cards plus cash, and it still fits perfectly in my front pocket. I've got the carbon fiber one. It's ridiculously durable and looks amazing. You can choose from over 50 different colors and styles too. And in today's world, this part is key. It's got RFID blocking tech built in so you can keep your info safe from digital thieves. Peace of mind and style? Absolutely. Another added bonus is if you're like me and constantly misplacing your stuff, they even have an AirTag attachment so you can always know where your wallet is. And to make this even better, Ridge gives you free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all of their products, wallets, key cases, even suitcases. Right now, Ridge is having their huge Memorial Day sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/Campea. That's ridge.com/Campea. And after you buy, tell them our show sent you because it helps a lot. Rob, you had a chance to see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2. What did you think about it?
I kind of felt like you did. I mean, like I said, I did an out-of-theater review. The whole first 90 minutes in the setup, I said it was just a bunch of gobbledygook, but I was totally there for it. You know, I mean, they did all this crazy stuff to tie in all the movies together. And those two main giant action set pieces are really all-timers. I mean, they are really... And one is going up and one is going down into the ocean. And I just was like, unbelievable. So I was there for the whole thing. What I thought was curious, what I found interesting, was the movie opens with a depiction of the entity, the antagonist, really.
Yeah, from the last movie.
And like in Dead Reckoning Part 1, the entity throws like a rave Euro party in the middle of like Venice or wherever, and I'm like,
as good entities will do.
Yeah, I'm like, this entity is going on. And there is a long tradition in cinema history of AI, all the way back to like Colossus, the Forbin Project. That was made in 1970. Big computer takes over our nuclear arsenal, and it talks. It's a character throughout the movie, and then it combines with its Russian counterpart, and they threaten to do basically what the entity was going to do and there was so many allusions to Hunt for Red October. I was surprised that the entity as a whole was not more present in the movie. Because, you know, at the end, the threat gets bigger and bigger. And the threat gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it got to the point I'm like, why is it doing this? And I thought it was interesting that a virtual system needs something in the physical world to defeat it. And we know about the keys because we saw them in the last movie. And I thought they needed, I think what was really missing from the movie was they could have tied the room together like the rug and Big Lebowski if they kept the entity.
Really ties the room together, man.
If they kept the entity as a character. Like I liked the entity as a character. There was more entity in Dead Reckoning, and it would have constantly like upped the threat, because the idea of the virtual world impinging on the real world and the danger, and yet you have to use a real world thing to destroy a virtual thing. There's something that could be mined there that I felt was lacking. But like you said, you know what, man? It was spectacle. I didn't care. I liked all the gobbledygook. You know, and normally people are like, well, Rob, you know, you're always the person lobbying after verisimilitude and all this. I'm like, I don't know why, but in this movie, I sat back. It took like the credits didn't come on until 30 minutes into the movie. You know, the opening credits. I'm like, I love this. I was just like, I don't care. I love watching it. I love watching Tom Cruise running. I loved all the fight scenes. I just didn't care. I loved all of the gobbledygook. But make no mistake, there's a lot of it. But those action scenes alone are unbelievable. And no one phoned it in. No. This was every drop of blood, sweat, and tears poured into this. You could tell this is high craft. Like when you make a visual spectacle like this is high craft. I mean, Chris McQuarrie and Tom Cruise have made no secret of the fact that they've been making up these particular scripts as they've gone along around the action sequences they come up together. I think both Dead Reckoning and The Final Reckoning Fallout and Rogue Nation worked very well. But these two movies, I thought, suffered because they could have spent more time developing the script. And that's why there's so much gobbledygook.
Christy, I can't remember. Like I asked beforehand, but I do. Did you have a chance to see Mission Impossible? You didn't, though, right? Not yet. But I mean, when you see the reactions right now, it's got like an 80% critic rating on it. What are you expecting for this to do? I mean, obviously, it came in well behind Lilo and Stitch, but how do you see it performing overall, considering that the last one wasn't all that popular with people?
You know, I'd like to hope that it has some legs, but it feels like this is going to kind of fizzle out personally. Talking to people yesterday at a barbecue, it was a whole bunch of 30 to 40-year-olds who are way more excited about Lilo and Stitch than Mission Impossible. And I just feel like that's also a kind of temperature check on this too, because it was a bunch of people who were like, oh, yeah, that seemed kind of cute. I'll probably go see that to get out of the heat this week. Whereas there wasn't this real drive to go see Mission Impossible. There wasn't a really big clamor for it. I don't know. I feel like these movies maybe have run their course at this point because the marketing has been so surrounded on, hey, look at this stunt. Hey, look at this stunt. Hey, look at this stunt. And I know they eased back on that for this film, but when you see kind of what's supposed to be the coolest thing in these movies, you got to leave something in there for people to go see. And I feel like people just aren't as jazzed about these anymore because it doesn't seem like there's a big, huge story to follow. You are just kind of going, oh, I'm going to go see Tom Cruise do some cool stuff. And I say that as a person who's not a, diehard fan of this franchise, who's like seen every installment. So I'm definitely not the person to weigh in on like why this ultimately is or isn't going to succeed. That's just the opinion I have and what I'm kind of gleaning from other moviegoers.
Yeah, I don't think this is the last one. I think it should be the last one. I do think they should wrap this thing up. They've done everything they can do with it. And listen, I gotta say also too, I did appreciate, although I was skeptical of it when I first heard about it, but now seeing it, I appreciate the way they tied this movie into previous chapters and that everything is kind of connected in many ways. There's even a character that comes back from one of the earliest films that I thought, oh my God, like that was like really creative too. By the way, let me throw this in there too. One of the things I really appreciate about Tom Cruise as an action star, there are a number of action stars that it was kind of explained in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but like they don't want to be anything but invincible. I'm looking at you, Vin Diesel, and I love you, man, but you're one of the biggest perpetrators of this. They have to be invincible, right? Tom Cruise will get his ass handed to him in these movies sometimes. Like he'll be fighting a guy, but he'll never just dominate. Like he did when he was Reacher, but in this, like he takes his licks and then keeps moving, which I think just makes for a more compelling hero. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning? I think overall it's a banger time at the movie theaters. I do have some issues with it, but I mean, man, the good to me far outweighs the bad, and I thought it was just a really entertaining thrill ride. Whatever you guys thought, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.